ఒకసారి చెక్ చేయండి సార్. ఇప్పుడు
మీ వర్క్ మీరు చూస్తుంది.
Can you hear me? All voice మనకి వినిపించలేదు.
I can hear.
Yeah. No. Yes. No problem.
తేజ గారు
Teja, good morning, sir.
ఇది మీ కంపెనీ సార్. గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ సార్.
I am good, Akar. Meera Lanan. Hi, Parker.
Hi, how you doing? Can you hear me?
సార్
I'm good.
మీట్లో పెట్టండి. ఇది
Yeah, I can hear.
Great.
అది పక్కన పెట్టేసాను లేకపోతే.
మీట్లో పెట్టండి సార్.
స్టార్ట్ చేస్తామా సార్?
మేడం ఇంకా స్టార్ట్ గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ సార్. ఒక మెసేజ్ పెట్టండి. స్టార్ట్ బ్యాంక్ ఇంకొంచెం బ్యాంక్
సార్ రేపు వస్తారంట సార్ వీళ్ళు ఇంటరాక్టివ్ బోర్డు వాళ్ళు. ఇంటరాక్టివ్ బోర్డు వాళ్ళు ప్రకాష్ గారు.
వినిపిస్తాను. మీట్లో పెట్టండి సార్. ఇక్కడ వినిపిస్తాను. మీట్లో పెట్టండి.
మ్యూట్ చేస్తే అది సౌండ్ లేకుండా రికార్డ్ అవుతుంది. దాన్ని తీసుకుపోయి మీకు చూడండి. మ్యూట్ చేస్తే సౌండ్ రికార్డ్ అవుతుంది సార్.
Very good afternoon to all the dignitaries in India, and good evening to the Singapore dignitaries, and very good morning to the US dignitaries. So it's because early morning US time. So most welcome to the international webinar on the emerging technologies to the green economy. First, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to our Commissioner of Collegiate Education, Pola Bhaskar sir, and the Regional Joint Director, Zone 4 Kadapa, Dr. P. Babu sir, and the Principal of our college, Dr. V. Salim Basa sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to organize the international webinar on this occasion. Once again, I my heartfelt thanks, sir. Next, I would like to extend my gratitude to our beloved speakers, esteemed speakers, Mrs. Parvati ma'am and Mr. Parker and Miss Tejaswini. Most welcome, my warm welcome to the seminar. And I would like to extend my gratitude to all the organizers and organizing committee members, secretaries, and all the faculty of India and abroad, and all the participants. My most welcome to the international webinar. Now I request our principal sir to inaugurate the session with his brief introduction. Thank you, sir. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon to all the dignitaries, participants, scholars, academicians, professors,
and well-wishers across the globe. Good afternoon to all of you. I heartily welcome to all the dignitaries for the one-day international webinar on emerging technologies and the green economy organized by Department of Economics of SKR and SKR Government Degree College for Women, Autonomous Kadapa, Andhra Pradesh, and India. I welcome and I extend my wholehearted thanks to speakers, today's eminent speakers, Srimati K. Parvati Ma'am, Director at Align Technology Singapore, Sri Parker Sutton, Infotech at Line Vision, California, United States of America, K. Tejaswini Ma'am, Product Developer, Boston, United States of America. Really, I am very much thankful to you people for accepting our invitation to deliver your views and ideas on the present topic with the participants, the dignitaries. I thank the organizers and secretary of Department of Economics for conducting this wonderful international event. This is the second international webinar organized in this institution, especially the in charge of the department, Dr. G. Vijayalakshmi Devi Madam Garu, convener, head of the Department of Economics, Dr. M. Gurumohan Reddy Garu, T. Srinivasa Reddy Garu, and another organizing secretaries, Dr. P. Sachidevi, Dr. K. Prakash Narayan Reddy, Dr. K. Shalini, and co-convener Dr. C.V. Krishnaveni, IQAC coordinator. Really, I am very happy and I congratulate Department of Economics for having shouldered the responsibility of conducting this international event on the platform by inviting renowned and esteemed speakers. I think the participants will enjoy the sessions and they can interact after the completion of the speakers session. The participants can interact and can clarify their doubts. I thank each and everybody for participating here and giving the opportunity to us to involve in this esteemed event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your inaugural message. Now I would like to introduce today's first session speaker, Mrs. Parvati ma'am. Mrs. Parvati, citizen of Singapore, she completed her MCA in Computer Science and Computer Applications from Osmania University in the year from 1994 to 97. After that, she moved to Singapore and started his career as a software engineer. After that, he joined a business analyst from the year 2000 to 2001. Later on, she moved at business analyst from the year project and program manager from 2007 to 2016. After that, she worked as a senior system and solution lead from 2016 to 2021. Later on, he worked as a senior manager at Align Technology from 2021 to 2023. From 2023 onwards, she has been working as a director at Align Technology Singapore. Mostly welcome, Ma'am Parvati ma'am. My warm virtual welcome to you, ma'am, as you share your insights on this critical intersection of innovation and environmental stewardship. Thank you once again. Warm welcome to you for our international webinar. From the Department of Economics, as a head of the department, most warm welcome to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Can you able to hear me?
Yeah, Yeah, hear me.
Okay. Thank you for the time and thank you for the opportunity given to me. I really appreciated your, the sessions which you are planning and really help for the team as well as the people around for those opportunities which we really contribute to the economy. At the same time, how these technologies as well as, let me present my screen in the meantime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you can say Polish.
Yeah, I'm presenting my screen. Yeah.
Yes.
Can you see my screen, right?
No, not able.
Can't able to see my screen yet?
Yeah, not able to.
Okay.
We can't
give me a
able.
minute. Oh, a minute. I'm sharing my screen. Okay. I share the entire screen. Okay. Can you see now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity once again, and thank you for providing me this platform to showcase my knowledge as well as my experience gained in these years. And I'm really, appreciated for those, for the people and the other speakers, which is going to be contributing to this green economy as well as emerging technologies. Okay, in the meantime, I will share my screen. Okay.
Yes.
Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
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 Okay. Sure. So, as I mentioned, today's topic is emerging technologies and how they contributed to the green economy, as well as how it is impacted to our lives. Emerging technologies are transforming innovations that are poised to reshape our industries as well as our daily life. These are not, as the name suggests, these are still as a developing. They are also referred to technologies which is currently developing, at the same time undergoing a rapid advancement in terms of the technology innovations. They're also say that these are technologies often seen as a catalyst for our businesses as well as the changing the way we work and live. So in these presentations, I'm going through some of those emerging technologies which is really impacting our lives. For example, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, renewable energy, as well as the potential impact to the societies. The first, yeah. Can you able to hear me? I'm hearing a quite big noises. Okay.
Yeah, hear me. You can continue.
So then the next one is I'm talking about the artificial intelligence and machine learning. These is one of the main game changer at the moment in our lives. So as you're looking at the left side or the right side of the picture, you can see there is the picture which will tell about the layers in artificial intelligence and machine learning. Each layer will have a different impact and different kind of like insights and help the businesses. Whether it will start with generative intelligence, as we all know now, chat gpt, as well as you can talk about how this AI tools transforming our lives, especially generating a text, providing insights, which is very, very difficult for us in the past to gain some insights, because now you can just a prompt which will help us to change, ask any questions which can able to explain to you in terms of like stock marketing, explain me in a school term. They will explain to you the stock market, how the children can understand the way they're able to live their life. So that is the power of the AI. And when it comes to the deep learning, and then as well as the deep faking, we all know that deep learning is really helpful for us, how our natural language, which will be people emotions, as well as and how the people tone can tell you to interpret that what is going on in their emotions. This will be helping in terms of like assessing the customer or consumer concerns, so that companies can able to form up into their their products and services, so that they can deliver the right products and right customer experience to those markets. Similarly, deep faking is one of those one of the technologies that currently is using in political banners and political campaigns, as well as celebrities promoting and demoting as well. So this is a technology which is going to be improving our life. At the same time, the way we use it, or if we don't use it properly, then it will be impacting our lives also. The second is a machine learning. Machine learning really impact you in terms of like learning how the machine learn themselves, because it's not about learning ourselves, but as we provide the data to the machine, it will self-learn and come up with the new insights. That is called, we use a predictive analytics nowadays for anything which can able to come up with algorithms. They use analyze the data, and they will come up with a vast amount of uncovered insights and make accurate predictions. For example, if you're looking at healthcare, where the cancers, where we can able to predict what will be the cancer status at the moment, how does it going to be helpful, using looking at the progress of this patient, what will be the implications, what is going to be the stages. So that would give say like game changer in terms of healthcare industries, how this machine learning and the predictive analytics will help to see how it is progressing in terms of the diagnostic. So that is really a good, helpful for the humans to understand in medical science. Similarly, if you're looking at other, oral dental clinic, oral dental also, it will help you to look at the cavities and will tell you how your gum diseases will be progressing. So these are the kind of technologies which is really impacting our life. At the same time, this also provide you that environmental sustainability perspective, where it will help you to predict what will be the weather look like, how is it going to be the wind speed. So these are the way that predictive analytic machine learnings will help you to analyze a vast amount of data and come up with the great insights. And if it comes to the AI, this is a combination of all these as a part of the AI, which will provide you like repetitive task. For example, when we are doing customer experience, right, for the company, when the customer experience comes into, they ask all the consumers or the customers will ask repetitive questions. Tell me about the product, what will be the cost of the product, how it is going to be. Even if looking at our websites, when we go into like a booking an air ticket, so we will ask the questions, hey, when is this flight is going to be delayed, or when is that what is the price is going to be, is it my booking is happening. So these are the repetitive questions, repetitive tasks which will be coming up from the consumers and customers, which will help companies to automating these tasks, providing a chatbot and helping the language learning models to automatically learn, and in looking at the websites and looking at the insights of the company's database, pulling the informations and providing insights to the customers and consumers. And then third one is humans and of like assisting, empowering the humans in focusing on higher level strategic work. Exactly as we say that when we avoid a repetitive task, when we avoid non-valued tasks, we can focus on the value added tasks. For example, revamping the company strategies, and then looking at how to improve the customer experience and what are the values we can able to provide in a healthcare. Okay, so these are some of the advantages which is AI and machine learning is helping our changing the lives and transforming businesses. In terms of the challenges and opportunities for the AI, so augmented decision making, as I mentioned, this will help us to make a complex with the huge data. They will be able to make a complex decision making by processing a vast amount of data. So this will help in terms of for especially large volumes of data. The data, we have a data warehouses. We could not know what is the business strategy is going to be the business, and how this is going to be helping for the farmers in terms of now we looking at a lot of data we have, why the crops are not going as per the plan. So I think these will help in terms of using this volume of the data, and they could able to analyze this data, and then able to come up with the connecting the dots of the data and give you the insightful information to make actions. So that is actionable data transforming into actionable actionable steps, or the way suggestion. So this will be helping you in terms of your decision making. How are you going to predict the traffic? So where are we looking at it in terms of if you want to plan a trip somewhere, this data will help you to plan your traffic and plan your journey. At the same time, you can able to make a decisions to which route you can go through. So this is using a hugely in terms of like our transport management, as well as in agricultural farm, as well as in terms of like either in the business decision. So next one is in terms of automation. So as we suggested this, because of the AI, there is a lot of streamlining the task as well as increasing efficiency, but also there is a challenge also, like a lot of working like a low level jobs are thinking they will be losing a jobs, but actually there is every technology come into picture, there will be a pros and cons. When we're looking at the pros is a more when competing to the cons, I think we need to be accepting the technology. So we can use this AI as a kind of like a digital assistant to you, sitting next to you and helping you, providing you insights which you cannot able to do yourself. I think this way we will be looking at, okay, we doesn't have the low level jobs, but at the same time we could be able to bring up to you that more insights. You can you use your time efficiently in strategic initiatives. So there is a cons and there is a pros, but when the pros are more than cons, I think this is the way that we are accepting this technology into our lives. And there is some ethical consideration also. As I mentioned, is the con, right? So the deep faking is one of the and then the deep faking, which is really impacting the celebrities and politicians, and which we really doesn't know what is the truth and what is not truth. I think that is where it is really impacting the people's lives too. So when we use this technology in an ethical and in a positive way, it will brings you and it will gives you an edge into your lives, edge to your businesses, edge to your education platforms, edge to many things. But at the same time, if you unethically use this technology, it will be impacting the majorly to all the people lives. And at the same time, it will gives you, it will impacting not only in terms of going into the people's hand when they are not thinking in a positive way. They are using for their self and their powerful. Then use this technology into their own. Yeah, that would be gives you that impact. So that is the reason we're looking at ethical way. Next, I'm talking about blockchain and cryptocurrency. This is, I think we might be already aware of this. What is a blockchain? Quite a few of you maybe already started buying this bitcoins and cryptocurrencies, and also we're looking at how this blockchain come into picture. So this is called like a decentralization of our banking systems, right? So this technology enables secure and decentralized transactions without a need to the central authority like a banks. For example, for the developing world or developing countries where a lot of people cannot be accessing the banks, this is a platform can enable them to do the transactions in a simple and easy way, and then they can be accessible easily, and the accessibility the credit also easily. So this one is not authority to one person. It is a kind of like organization which will have to have a lot of rules and lot of security has been enabled into this, and this is the platform they can be used by anybody. Which is if it is if this is going to be if this is going to be allowing, or this is going to be one way of transaction payment methods, or transactions is eligible, or it can be like it is be legalized in many markets. So one of the African country, they use Bitcoin is very vastly, and they do also do a lot of Bitcoin kind of like transactions. In supply chain is one of the great example where we can use these Bitcoins. When using a supply chain, when you can able to transact to the national, international players, and this is the Bitcoin is the one of the trusted way of doing a transactions in terms of your payments. Cryptocurrency, as I'm talking about the Bitcoin and Ethereum, these are the global financial landscape and the standards they use currently for using a blockchain technology. For example, these are also used for the third point is like a smart contracts, right? As I mentioned, there's a blockchain-based smart contracts automating the execution of and efficiency to execution of the agreements, at the same time enhancing the efficiency and trust. So as I mentioned, this is supply chain. This is where the agreements are. This is where you can execute very well. This will help you to increase public verification of these transactions. Is not like biased. It will be, there will be a certain rules and certain rules of privacies and certain rules of guidelines will be enabled, and then it will be accessible to anybody, and it is not by one bank versus another, but it is a kind of like a committee or a kind of like organization which will enable and reviewed, and also will be looking at as a kind of like is ethical way of doing or not. Is it consistent way of banking? Is it small medium businesses, is it large businesses also can be benefited using this blockchain and cryptocurrencies. Next, I'm talking about the Internet of Things. This is one of the technology, as I mentioned. This is also transforming how we live and interact with our environment as well. As we all know that, right? Internet of Things is all connected. For example, if you're talking about simple example in our life, Siri, can you off the lights? Siri, can you play the game? So how does it? Is simplifying our lives, right? It's connected. At the same time, we say that it will also will help you to talk about in security at home. These devices in your now every device is electronic device. Your fridge is electronic device. Your TV. So when we have connecting these things, we can no need to be sitting, and then we can just looking at the in the fridge, what exactly you have in the fridge, and what is going to be finishing soon, and then how do you going to be order that. At the same time, it is also will be looking at before I go home, I make sure my AC is on for me. Okay. And while I'm driving my home to driving my home after finishing my work, I wanted to make sure my microwave is on for me to cook some meal. So this is the connected devices. The internet is such a easy, making our lives easier. Of course, there is every time there is a easy, there will be also complications will be coming into when the things not working. Okay. That is the way we will be improving. This is called these emerging technologies. This is still developing, and they're developing somewhere, and they're going to be developing as we go along. It connects multiple electronic devices and allow them to communicate each other, and allow you to live your us to live our life is simple. Next one is automated workflow. This Internet of Things integrates our automated the various homes and businesses process, improving efficiency and convenience. As we know that automate. If you wanted to do anything automation, you need to have looking at the business. What is the business processes are? First, you need to revamping your business processes. Once the process is improved, once the process is lean, once the process is simplified, then we will be looking at automating the workflow flow into the digitizing the flow. So this way, this will help you, especially in the manufacturing process, right? Manufacturing process, when your lean process coming into manufacturing, and your devices and then your machine can be lean process. They can connect each other, and then the flow automatically goes through that in a manufacturing process. So this is a technology which is really helping in terms of manufacturing, in terms of the normal human lives. At the same time, automated car drivings is also uses that. So when we're looking at automated driving cars, we also use IoT technology to make sure that what will be the upcoming signal is, so that sites given is all these electronic devices are connected, we will know the data, right? When is your if you take an example of home appliances itself, right? As I'm talking about the fridge, if you're looking at what is available in your fridge, what is not available, by knowing the data, it automatically connects to the supermarket and give you an order for you to, your milk is running out. So they will be able to tell you that hey, your milk is running out, you need to place an order to the Amazon, or you need to place an order to place an order for what other groceries it is going to be reduced in your fridge. So this would be helpful. The data, whatever we are reading from your the electronic devices, and how it will help you to make a decision, and will all look at you to be run to the supermarket again. but rather you on the way you can go to the supermarket and you grab a deficiency in your fridge and you can bring that, and you can, it will improve your optimize your process. At the same time, if you're looking at manufacturing, this is a lean process, is really optimizes the overall process, takes from the days to takes from the weeks, from the weeks to the days, and then from the days to the hours, the overall process improvement. Enhance the security, this is relating to the physical and as well as physical security as well as the digital security. I think we all know that the locking system, electronic locking system, or the password locking systems, these are all the some of those security locks for our home is one of the example we can use as Internet of Things. There is also kind of like police, right? If you're looking at police stations, they will have there will be a surveillance cameras in everywhere in the city, cameras, and they can able to understand which area is that going to be like theft prone cities. They will have a more cameras and they will be observing the data, and they could be able to point out to exactly that where is the which area is a theft prone more, or which area is going to be the deserted, so that they can able to control the switches and the lights in that area, which are the parks. I think these are well connected devices which will help us to the in either police department, or whether it is even to the hospitals, right? If you're looking at the old age homes, when they will have a device in their in the hand or with there for them, they can able to also tells like they can monitor this temperatures of the body. Okay,
You can continue.
yeah. So the next one I'm talking about the virtual and then augmented reality. We call it AR and the VR. So these are the technologies which is really helping in terms of how interacting to the world and each other also. So if you all know that how this is when things are coming on you, and is really going in front of you. So it is a kind of images into really coming into you, really coming into your life, and is really touching you. You feel you jerk. You can whenever you see that kind of you know motions. So that is the into that's a technology is really impacting nowadays. Where you see the pro in the game in terms of like whether you are in a space or whether you are going into a kind of like whichever the space you are going into. Movies in 3D and 4D movie, and based on this 3D and 4D, there is a lot of like experiences for the people, which will allow you to do the which will feel that we are interacting into that, we are experiencing that. And that is on our entertainment industry. When it comes to the training and education, these technologies is really helping for us to do the virtual experience, right? So let's say for example, as a medical student, I'm a medical student, I really need to do some experiment or complex operations learning on the actual body. So we don't need to be physically there in front of the body. Then the body will be virtually will be projected, and you will learn how to do the complex surgery operations and learning through your actually doing on the human body. So this will really help you to learn complex procedures, and also allow you to experience actual operations which you are doing on your body, even through virtually. So this is, and also as you all know that whenever we have a computer issue, we will have someone is virtually remoting our computer and doing a fixing. Yeah, even though this, and also we see how many virtual events we attended in terms of using this. You no need to be in the event, but you will join as an event as a presenter, or as a kind of listener, and you can experience the overall training ambience, and you can feel that you are really physically in the training location, and you are presenting, or at the same time you are receiving the trainings. So that is really helping in terms of the training and education field, this technology. And the next one, it come to retailer and e-commerce. So retail and transforming its shopping experience and allowing customer to virtually try products. For example, you wanted to really understand what is going to be the Apple 15 phones new features. You don't need to go to the Apple store, and maybe you can really connect them virtually, and you can understand exactly what is the new features are coming into the new version. So that you can make a decision whether you really wanted to invest in that phone or not. So this will gives you your travel, you save your travel time. At the same time, you will whether you can buy this a phone or not. So I think this is one of the real experience which you can feel it as if you're going to the store. Similarly, retail. So if virtual visit or a tour for them, you can go inside the tour as if you're walking into the tour or into the retail. To the store, and you are wearing the shirt, and you are seeing the color, and you fitting the sizes, whether it is really fit to you or not. So I think that experience will gives you whether you want to buy this product or not. That would try it, and if it is works for you, you can order online, or you go to the visitor store, or if he doesn't like it, and you can drop the product. Yeah. So next, into the healthcare, as I mentioned, this is going to be help you in terms of the medical procedures, visualization of complex data, and more insights in terms of what actually doing it. So even though we don't this at the moment, as I mentioned, this is still developing. We are not entertaining in terms of having virtually do operation for us, or virtually do the dental checkup, but exactly this is happening in terms of my own industry, where during a COVID time, we wanted to have our customers to visit our smile centers to experience the product. We actually allow them the virtual tour, so that these people will going into our website, and they will go into our product. They do the scan for themselves, the teeth scan, doing it, and they will also submitting that the scan for us, and also see that how this product will fit to them. So that type of is not only in one industry, it is helpful for quite a bit of industries if they are using this advanced technology into their business model. Next, I'm going into the robotics and automation. How is this technologies is reshaping the workforce, right? So robotics is two types. One is a physical as well as digital. When we're looking at the physical, I think we already know that we see that how the productivity gains in terms of reducing errors, as well as a wide range of industries, especially manufacturing. A lot of robotics in terms of shipping industry, packing industry, as well as hotel industries. And even we're looking at when we go airport, we can see that the robots are cleaning the floors for us. So, and I think these are the they have given to our even in our home, right? Robots will be coming and cleaning up our whole room. We don't need to be sweep, and they do that. Robots will just on it, and they can automatically clean the room and go back to the charging center and charge themselves. So this is the way the robotics will help you, not only manufacturing industry, it will be a wide range of industries in terms of automation. And then, of course, there is as I mentioned, every technology will have a kind of a negativity, positivity. The job displacement is one of the negative, where we can losing the jobs there, and then it will be replaced with the robots. But however, there is places where we can't even go. We can't even job like a space, right? Where we rocket launches, or we wanted to in the army. Or in a war zone, we wanted to blast something. I think those are the places which we can utilize these robots to really replace the humans, but not in we can use the people who can able to do or repetitively doing it, or it's no value added jobs, and where it will be physically impairing the human. So I think we will be using a roboting there, and there will be a kind of digital kind of where we really do the RPA programming to do the data mapping, and we also do pushing the data or even updating the data from Excel to the database. And we also use writing some programs automatically push the manual process into automated process, updating the process, and automatically creating the next flow. So we use for tax updates, for example, in our company we use the tax updates to the government every day. All the orders, what are they coming in the orders into our pipeline, we just take the orders and shipping data and we'll update into the tax system. So one system to another system to updating, as well as the data replication, data mapping. These are also, we use RPA as a programming to do the automation. So that is a soft side, digital side of the robotics, as well as the physical side of robotics, which we see every day in our lives. So when we have the both human and mission collaboration, successful companies will find ways to integrate automation with a human expertise, harnessing the strength of the both. As example, as I say, health industries, as well as in hotel industries, in airports or in the manufacturing industries. So it's gaining is gaining the credibility in different industries. And we also accepting, and we also looking at customer experience. Also, when you go to the big companies, there is robots which will be answering for you 80% of your questions before you even go into accessing to the next person or talking to the next person in the companies. Next, I'm touch base on the quantum computing, which is as I said, this is the most still developing kind of like technology comparatively what others, because quantum computing is beyond the computers, right? Is next generation of computers, we call it. So computers, we already know. At the same time, it is also revolutionary the overall world. But this quantum computer is going to be the next step beyond that. Okay, whereas in computers we use, like, whoever learning the computers, they all know we learn ones and zeros, right? All our computers store the data in ones and zeros. Whereas in a quantum computing, these computers will store the data in quantum bits by the power, the storage, and computer is exponential. Okay, I think that's what I have majorly on this quantum computing. In terms of cryptography, before I go into this 3D, and I wanted to touch base this is quantum computing at the moment is not as mature as comparatively other, like as RPA or AI or other technologies which we spoke about, because these quantum computers need to be yet to be mature and yet to be developed. Okay. And next we are talking about 3D printing. 3D printing, or we also call it as additive manufacturing, we call it. So 3D printing is a kind of like, we use in a manufacturing mainly. It enables a rapid creation of customized parts and products, reducing a waste and especially inventory. So because they use this during the 3D printing, I think as you see that in manufacturing or in any manufacturing companies or any kind of like a product development companies, they will have this waste management is a huge portion. So with the 3D printing, we can reduce the waste management a lot. Okay, so we can have a lot of simple kind of like the products is the 3D printing will use the less product material and which can able to generate and reduce the waste. Yeah, and it will also helps you. For example, my company is one of we develop clear aligners. It will have a kind of like individualistic. It, as I say that personal experience. The last point I'm covering now, because it will gives you every customer will have their own unique kind of dental set, right? Our company will produce us using a 3D printing as one of the pioneer company in developing a 3D technology in developing for invisible braces. So we use every day we'll produce thousands of the aligners for the patients in a customizable manner. I think 3D printing is one of the technology which we can use, in a personal experience. For example, we also use our phones, right? Phone cases is also using prosthetic material to develop a customizable phone cases. I think that is one of the 3D printing, 3D printing which will be benefiting. Okay, so the next one I'm looking at, okay, so is that, let me close this. Yeah, so another example is that we can see that for especially the limbs of a person who lost the limbs, and we can develop 3D printing to generate the prosthetic legs for them, and which will really helps to movability of the person. Yeah. And in terms of like rapid prototyping, for example, 3D printing, they will use this to, for example, for the real estate business where they wanted to design prototypes, and they really wanted to before manufacturing or anything, they will have these ideas, they put in a kind of prototyping, they develop a prototype before really built anything physically. So I think this will help you engineering and designing field to create a new ideas and see how this prototype works. Is it and also it will help you them to see is this model works or not, and will help them to accelerate their innovations or the changes quite a bit, so that their final model, which will be is before the physical model, the 3D model or 3D design, which help them to have all those identify all those manufacturing concerns, logistics concerns, or any other kind of business concerns before they're really going into the physical. And in terms of the distributed manufacturing, is decentralized production, empowering individual and small business to become manufacturers, right? So we call it this portion is talking about the small SMEs. Even though the companies are small, started as a small SME first, my company is also started as SME and it become international now. So I think that is one of the power of the 3D printing in terms of like manufacturing and waste management, as well as developing a personalized, customizable items, or the fitting into the individual personal experiences. Next, I'm talking about the renewable energy and sustainability. Okay, I think this one, we're living every day, right? Solar power, wind energy, and geothermal power, and hydroelectronic. This renewable energy and sustainable energy is really is impacting because we will know energy is so expensive, and it has been giving a war between the countries with the fuel, all other things. With this new kind of sustainable energy with the solar power, we able to generate every home now. Every home will have batteries which filled with the solar energy, which is really becoming a part of our lives now. Harnessing sun through energy, providing clean renewable energy into our lives through our batteries, into our everyday lights and the fans and the TVs and everything which we are running. The solar power is going to be the energy system in the future, which is going to be kind of like a green energy and sustainable energy, and which we can get freely. I think that is one of the new technology which we need to we need to more invest, and we need to develop further. Okay, wind energy is like utilizing a wind, and in addition, this is also by nature. Because it's sustainable, it's all coming for nature. We are not doing something, killing something, or destroying something to generate something, because these are all coming from the nature. That is we call it as a kind of sustainable, and is also green. Yeah. Geothermal power, extracting heat from Earth's interior and produce steam and generate electricity. This is one of the way we are generating. Hydroelectric and generating it, because these are all nature, come from a sun, come from a wind, come from a water. I think this is going to be sustainable energy and renewable energy, which is going to be impacting, and it will going to be impacting a lot of industries and reducing our ozone ozone impact of generating like a lot of coal burning, as well as emission, which is happening in the developed countries than developing countries. I think this is going to be future energy which we will be investing on it to reduce all these carbon emissions and reducing the our nature impacting our floods and everything. Yeah, this is one of the emerging technologies which we will be going in the future, more maturing and helpful for the human as well as industries. with that, I think I have touched base on quite a multiple energy and multiple technologies which is coming up into our lives, and which is developing and still developing. Some of those on which are still maturing, some are mature already, some which we are already seeing the impact. But this is going to be the future for us. It will increase our automation, because of the AI and robotics will definitely will automate our growing number of tasks and jobs, and which will be a digital assistant for us, chatbots and everything, which is really helpful for us to improve and increase efficiency, and also automating our things. With the personalized experience with the 3D printing and other, these are the emerging tech which will enable us tailored and personalized products and services for us. As I mentioned, is invisible braces, or whether it is going to be a phone cases, or it is anything which is going to be your personal, which using a 3D printing we can able to. Sustainable solutions using a solar power, as well as energy green tech and circular economies, which will really sustainable solution for us. And blended realities with the AR and the VR, which blur the lines physical and digital world. We are really seeing it. We are really seeing it. What is exactly that? Experiencing the world which we are not in yet. We are experiencing the future, which is experiencing. Especially if you're looking at what will be the impact with the climate change, what we're going to be living, what is our future look like. We can experience it. They will make those kind of like a movies which we really see that how this 3D printing we can really experience how it impact our lives. So with that, I have a final summary. These emerging technologies and sustainables create new opportunities for growth, not only for growth for economies, and it also helps you in terms of defining our lives. And this is a technology I think we need to invest, and we need to come up with kind of like an infrastructure, introducing these technologies into the more, invest more, and developing a more infrastructure to sustain these energies. And it really helps us for in terms of a growth, as well as people economy. And they also have a lot of entrepreneurship will also develop using these technologies, also create a lot of jobs too. Not only losing a jobs, but it also create jobs, because we come up with a lot of tools for that to using these technologies, which is really sustain our economy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Farhat ma'am, for your informating and very useful lecture. Really gave a wonderful lecture with a nice PPT. You covered each and every point like artificial intelligence and informative technology, Internet of Things, and everything you covered in your lecture. Thank you so much. Really, emerging technologies is playing a good role or crucial role on economy. Technology is a very important factor in production process. So it's very useful lecture today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the opportunity.
Now I request Dr. G. Gurmohan Reddy sir to introduce next session resource person, Mr. Parker.
Hello, good afternoon to all. I am Dr. M. Gurmohan Reddy, lecturer in economics, SKR and Women's College, Kadapa. I would like to inform and I have to privilege myself and give brief introduction about this seminar of today's. We are going to the environmental sustainability and also emerging technologies of green economy, giving permission our CCE and also our JD sir and also our principal, Dr. Salim. A nice seminar is going on now. Today, my privilege due to profile of Dr. Parker Sutton. I will give a brief introduction about him. Mr. Parker, for today's international webinar on emerging technologies and the green economy, organized by the Department of Economics, SKR and SKR, Government College for Women, Autonomous, Kadapa, the AP in India. Mr. Parker Sutton belongs to California in USA. He is working as Infotech at Line Vision. He is expert in environmental studies with a concentration in the green economy, business entrepreneurship, and environmental sustainability, and a minor in business administration. Then Mr. Parker with a wealth of knowledge and expertise in sustainable development and a passion for development, environmental conservation. Then Mr. Parker is a leading expert in the field of green economy. His innovative ideas and strategic solutions have helped numerous organizations transition towards a more sustainable future. Then he brings a unique perspective to the conservation on sustainable practices and economic strategies. His dedication to preserving our environment and to promote green initiatives makes him a valuable asset to our discussion today. With this brief introduction of Mr. Parker, my warm virtual welcome to Sir as you share your insight with us. Thank you, one and all. Mr. Parker, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you.
Please.
Good afternoon. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm very excited. Give me a second here. I'm gonna present. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out. Okay, let's see. See my screen? Is that working?
Yeah, it's
Cool.
visual.
Great,
You
awesome.
can-
What I'm going to be talking about is about climate change, challenges, and resilience strategies. My background is definitely within sort of emerging technology and what we call like climate technology. And I really think that it's important to talk about some of the resilience strategies to sort of bridge the gap between technology and conservation when it really comes down to it. But I first, let me talk a little bit about myself and some of the qualifications I have, because I've been working within the space of climate technology and conservation for a little while now, even though I'm just basically barely graduated. So some information about me in terms of the work that I've been doing within the actual sort of space. I'm currently working at the climate tech startup called Line Vision. I'm doing information technology. And the company that I'm currently working at, they are a technology company that's working on decarbonizing the grid, and they work with utilities. I've also had some background working for a clean energy company and working with them so that they can install more solar panels within the United States in order to make that transition. And then I've also worked as an operations associate at this place in Boston called Greentown Labs, which is a climate tech. It's a startup for other climate tech startups. So I actually got a lot of hands-on experience working with people that were developing emerging technologies, trying to do stuff like make concrete more sustainable, or look at using AI, as we talked about before, to monitor growing agriculture and stuff like that. So I have a lot of involvement within companies that already exist, as well as even doing my own research and being involved in like impact investing on my campus and previously. So I have a lot of experience in sort of a lot of these different sections, ranging from the economic side to the emerging technology, all the way to the sort of, I sort of talk a lot about sort of the economic and emerging technology aspects of how of sort of society and how that's going to improve the world. I think it's really important to first start off by understanding the sort of impacts of climate change and what's actually happening and why it's so important that we need to move over and all these sort of things. So Yeah, so first off, I want to talk about like what the actual impacts of climate change are and why we should start caring about that, and why we need to start moving towards a more like green economy with some level of technology. So one of the big stats is that currently over the next decade, the temperature of the world is going to increase 1.5 degrees Celsius and about 3.2 degrees Celsius by 2100. And all this information is from this report that comes out annually called the IPCC, part of the UN. They do reports about how the climate is going to be affected and what's happening with emissions. And one of the big, really important things to note, I find when doing a lot of research, is understanding like where, not only how is the temperature increasing and what is that impact, but where does it come from? I think there's a lot of information out there that tries to push the ball onto people like you and I, but in reality, over 71% of the emissions come from 100 companies. Most of them, almost all of them, are oil and gas companies. So it's important to understand that it's not necessarily any individual's responsibility for climate change, but it's sort of an ongoing system that we need to really consider where it comes from, so we can work on implementing technologies that can replace the need for those emissions. So this is a graph from the report, the IPCC report, that shows how much we've actually increased the temperature over the past decades, a couple decades. So as we can see here, we've really just over, if you look at the sort of simulated natural like variation of temperature over the, from 1850s to now, we can see that there's this like trend line that's going up based on the sort of industrialization of the whole globally, where based on like the average line, if we actually hadn't industrialized, we hadn't been putting up these emissions through creating all these different things, we would actually be around the same level of temperature based on like the observed and historical patterns that we've studied through different various means. So it's one of those things we also have to understand that, yeah, realistically, the climate is changing. So it's something that we need to understand why it's changing and how we can prepare for it and who it's going to be affecting. And that's personally where my study and professional development sort of comes in. I put a lot of effort into understanding like who's most affected, because I think that it's incredibly important to understand who's impacted, so we can really focus on helping them first as a priority. I also think it's important to understand how, I think there's a lot of talk about the fact that emissions are bad and that's increasing temperature, but I think it's also important to understand like how that's increasing temperature. I think it's something that I forget, and a lot of people forget, how like realistically the amount of carbon being put in the atmosphere actually creates an increase in heat and temperature. So that's something I have on the slide here. So a lot of the carbon dioxide that goes into the air, it actually, because of the nature of the chemical, when solar radiation comes down, which heats the earth and gives us seasons, all that fun stuff, a lot of it is absorbed into the ocean or the surface, and then some of it is reflected. But one of the big issues with the increase of carbon dioxide actually in the atmosphere is a lot of the heat that should be reflected back off into the atmosphere is actually trapped because of the carbon. It gets absorbed back into the atmosphere and gets reflected back down, increasing meaning that there's warmer and warmer temperatures. And this is something that we've been seeing actually. I'm sure, I know in India recently, I want to say a couple weeks ago, it's hitting about 50 degrees Celsius, which is unheard of. It's unprecedented in almost history in general, and not just in India, all over the world. Even in California, we're seeing like the warmest temperatures we've seen in years. Almost every single year, there's a new record, which is not something that necessarily should be happening. Stuff should be staying relatively similar when it comes down to it. But the presence of CO2 and other greenhouse gases, CO2 is just the most common one that comes from a lot of different things, usually like industrial emissions and cars and all sort of stuff. Those get trapped and it leaves radiation within the atmosphere and keeping us warm. Yeah, so I think it's also important now that we sort of understand like how it's warming it. It's also like where does it come from and who is responsible. So this graph on the left is one that I find really informative in terms of understanding who and what is responsible for emissions. This is from 2019, but it's still pretty relevant. I think it is really important to look at it. If you look at it, you see that in the more dark blue, pretty much 70% of all emissions from countries are because of the fossil fuel industry. Well, very few are from land use and other emissions. So there definitely when you look at it, even though there's a push to sort of be like, yeah, we need to work on moving over to solar, or we need to drive cars less, or whatever measures there are. It's really important to understand that the really big way to just really start combating it is to move away from fossil fuels and coal, because those are the really big emitters. Agriculture is also responsible for about 25% of greenhouse gas emissions, and that's primarily because of, in places like Brazil, because of the forests. And usually not by choice. People will be forced because of the situations to cut down the forest in order to use the land for farming, because they have really no other reason. So that actually hurts on two levels. One is that now you're removing the forest, which was primarily you taking in a lot of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and storing it in the soil, or turning it back into oxygen. So now that percentage, that those trees for the next 100 years, like those are now never going to be able to do that. And then the land that's being turned into use for agriculture, depending on the type of agriculture, that can be really, really bad for the cows. Are really not necessarily great. They use a lot of water, and they produce a lot of methane. So both.
Sorry for the interruption, Parker. Your slide is not changing.
Oh, my slides aren't changing. Sorry about that. I thought that they were. This is okay. Is it change now?
Yes, now changing. You can continue.
Okay.
You can continue.
Sorry about that. Yeah, on my side it is changing. Okay. Yeah. So sorry. This is the graph I was looking at, and yeah. So looking on the left here, that's my bad. We can see that there's definitely a lot of fossil fuel. A lot of the carbon dioxide is coming from the fossil fuel industry, and then there's some from other industries as well, such as forestry, which, as you can see, is also another portion. And then also the stat up here that that's really where a lot of it really comes from. So it's important to understand that that aspect of it, and then also how agriculture plays into that as well. So let's see. Go back to the next slide. Yeah. So here are some physical changes of. So now that I've sort of talked a bit about like how carbon dioxide is creating changes in temperature and more or less where it's coming from, how does that actually in fact impact people like globally? Some of the really big impacts that we see driven when it comes down to the physical impacts is increased in agriculture and ecological drought. That's something that we've been seeing worldwide, especially with the increase in temperature, and something that will probably be affecting places like Andhra Pradesh, especially considering farming being really big part of the economy. I know here in the United States, it's something we've been seeing where, because the weather patterns are changing, the areas that were normally being used for farming are now shifting up or down depending on where that is. Increase in fire weather. Being from California, one of the things that we've been seeing is a lot of our forests have been catching on fire year after year. And even in Canada and places like that as well. Flooding is another really big thing, especially in coastal cities. Being in Boston, one of the things that we talk about a lot is that Boston is built on the coast. It's built on a swamp. So with the amount of flooding that happens year over year, a lot of places that were normally safe from floods and water are now going to be impacted by those. Rain is another big thing on the sort of opposite side of drought. Some areas now are going to be getting a lot more rain than they ever were. Where I think in Germany, we saw last summer, there was tremendous flooding, and places just are not necessarily equipped for it because It wasn't back when buildings were built and infrastructure was designed. It wasn't designed with the level of climate influence we're seeing now. Glacier retreat is something we're seeing with global sea rise. It's actually really important, especially since I know part of the economy in Andhra Pradesh is from, I think it's shrimp. It's one of those things that could be affected based on the global sea rise as well as the upper acidification. The acidification of water because of carbon dioxide actually binds with the water and it creates a slight acidity increase. That might make a lot of areas for fishing or shrimp or different types of production. They might not be in those sort of areas anymore. They might move further up or further down to meet the sort of lifestyle or ecosystem that supports the way that the fish or whatever type of aquatic ecosystem it needs. So it now means that people will be having to move further up or down or wherever in order to fish, which makes it a lot harder for people that where that's their primary way of income to actually make income. And then increase in hot extremes. It's also something that we've been seeing and have been talking about worldwide. There's been a lot more heat related issues. So now that we've sort of talked about a little bit about like the physical aspects how those will affect the actual physical world, we also have to talk about how this is going to affect the economy. So this is more about the local economy, not necessarily like the global one, but I think that the people that are following a lot of these sort of things are the ones that are going to be most impacted when it really comes down to it. But physical water availability, this is something that we're going to see. There's going to be less water in certain areas, especially in areas like Andhra Pradesh that are along the coast. With rising seawater, it might mean that if people are getting water from wells, there's going to be more salt water seeping in. So that water is no longer going to be drinkable. Even just extraction of water from wells, eventually those are going to dry up. And that's just going to make it unlivable in certain areas and people are going to have to move. Agriculture and crop production, because of the heat, the sort of climate for a lot of crop like rice might no longer be safe. Animal and livestock, with the increase in heat, it actually means diseases will be moving up. So things like malaria or other sort of infectious like ticks and other different types of animals that are considered like threats will move up and could start impacting some of the poultry or livestock. Fisheries and yields, if the water is too warm, they might no longer be able to breed there as effectively. So a lot of these things are going to affect a lot of people that are in a lot of these industries, especially near the coast. Heat and malnutrition is something we've been seeing. Displacement is one of the really big things that's going to be happening. One of the statistics that I found when doing research about this is that between 2016 and 2021, there's already been about 43 million similar terrestrial ones. So these are a lot of the reasons why we actually really need to focus on what's being impacted so we can understand how do we use either technology or programs in order to sort of remediate that and work towards supporting those sort of people. So I did some research into Andhra Pradesh because I think that it's also really important to sort of like understand what is currently going on in order to what resilience strategies are already being used. So a study that I found, they found that there's a need for policies to mitigate saltwater inundation and for government risk management. So the study that I found really sort of looked into the impacts of the increased water rise along the coast and how that'll affect some of the water more inland, and it found that a lot of the time salt water is now seeping into areas that were fresh water, which means people are going to have to move further inland. And it really talks a lot about the need for addressing policies locally. Some things can be done on a large scale, but sometimes a lot of areas have very different, unique needs and need to be done locally as opposed to a nationwide sort of plan or policy, which is something that's actually quite different from the United States, which I'm gonna get into later. Some of how different strategies study found that because there's climate vulnerability. But one of the study also found that there acts such as the MGNREGA use different adaptation strategies in order to provide employment to people, because that's one of the big things. If a lot of the ways that you support yourself through the economy, whether it's fishing or agriculture, if those are no longer sustainable in ways, you are forced to move. But one of these sort of solutions is localized income in job guarantees, so that people can continue supplementing what they were doing with money from the government. So they don't necessarily need to move, and they can still support the lifestyle that they need without upending everything they have. So that's one way that can really, even though it doesn't necessarily fight the core problem, it does act as a adaptation and resilience strategy in rural areas, especially to support those that would be primarily affected by the impacts of their local economy. In one, looking at this map on the left, this is the diagram of people that are facing drought vulnerability in Andhra Pradesh, and you can see the areas where it's highly vulnerable. And actually, I'm going to move to the next slide because I think this is actually super interesting. So as we can see here, I found a map based on the poverty, and this was from a ResearchGate study. You can see that there is a correlation between people that are highly vulnerable and people that are facing higher levels of poverty, which is why, once again, I say that it's really important to focus a lot on these sort of things. It tends to be people in rural areas that face more poverty, and it's really important to make sure that they're, like, based on the map, they're the ones who be most affected. So it's really important to understand how can we implement strategies that support the people that are being most affected by climate change. So some localized strategies that I saw when I was doing research based on what the MGNREGA, this is some of the bullet points I pulled out from here. They guarantee employment for 100 days for paid workers per year to rural households for unskilled labor. They ensure equal wages for men and women to do the same for the work that they do. They create useful assets, so they focus on building essential infrastructure, water tanks, irrigation facilities, roads, support to support that. They focus on local decision making in order to lead projects. Because if anyone really knows what a town or village or an area needs, it's really the people that live there. They're the ones that truly know how they need to expand, what they need in order to survive. And then timely wage payments. It's really important. One of the big things I've learned through a lot of the research that I've done is focusing on local empowerment. Truly, the people that live in areas, they understand the land and they understand their field better than anyone else. So making sure having programs like this where the government works with them is a really good way to remediate some of the impacts of climate change, while making sure that they have the resources that they need to keep sustaining themselves as the climate changes. So I think that is also really important. And then working with the land itself, that's something that's really important to understand the land. One of the studies that I read basically found that working using less pesticides is actually more effective. Although looking back on here, it's really hard to convince people to switch off of pesticides and switch off of fertilizers, especially for farming, because in the short term it increases yields, which is great. People really need higher yields in order to either sustain themselves, whether it's they're using that to feed themselves or they're selling it. But when it really comes down to that, sometimes pesticides are not great for you. The types of pesticides that I found are organophosphates, which is something I've actually done research about, which are pretty toxic. That's one of the most common ones that's used in Andhra Pradesh for the study that I read, and also even in the United States, it used to be really common. But the problem is that some of these pesticides, while they might get rid of pests, they're incredibly toxic for the body. That specific type of pesticide was originally developed in World War II. It was developed in World War II as a weapon, as chlorine gas. So something like that, it's really important to understand like what is being used, and switching off of that to more like natural forms of either pesticide, integrated pest management, or fertilizers that are maybe it's from things that are not necessarily synthetic, because the synthetic ones, they take out a lot of nutrients from the ground. So there's a lot of techniques that are really useful to be taught, as long as they have the support over and are getting compensated for that, so they can move towards something that will actually prevent the land from being degraded faster with the influence of climate change. And then on top of local sort of initiatives, there's also it's also really important to have statewide or even higher than that level of policy. So some other things I found that were going on in Andhra Pradesh was things like the Green Economic Recovery, the CBGA. That was the name of the program. And they promoted renewable energy, so increased solar and wind capacity. They worked on energy efficiency, so this for energy saving practices in households. Sustainable agriculture, which is something that I research a lot, something that personally interests me. Waste management, it's really important to work on that as well. And then finally, policy and financial support, so aligning those policies with securing financial investments for green projects. So in addition to supporting those that are more primarily affected, it's also great to look at the country on a larger scale, because certain areas can do different things better. So some areas it makes more sense for them to focus on renewable energy, while other areas work on making sure that their farming is more sustainable. So it's sort of a dual side when it really comes down to resilience and adaptation strategy, especially when you implement it with emerging technologies. So this part is more of the emerging technologies, while the other part is more about making sure that the earth stays more sustainable and people are able to support themselves. And then in Massachusetts, where I studied, we have similar issues, although the way that we address them is a little bit different. So here is a map of the Boston area, and with, as I mentioned before, sea level rise is something that we struggle with over here. In the next 100 years, a lot of the downtown area is going to be flooded if we don't do anything. So in addition to adaptation strategies that are more physical and more community-based, there's also ones like building infrastructure, coastal infrastructure. So making sure that the climate and the ecosystems of the area will be less damaged. There's a lot of fishing in Boston. So working on stuff, there's fishing and bird ecosystems. So focusing on stuff like that to support those is something that also costs a lot, but that's another strategy depending on the sort of area. So for rural areas, working more locally and working on making sure that the jobs in local economies are supported is really important for over there. But over here, the economy in Boston is a little bit different than rural economies, and the things that we face from climate change are a little bit different. So we're focusing more on how do we improve our infrastructure is something that's also really important, as well as our natural resources. So that's something that over here in Boston and in this area we really focus on, which is a little bit different. And the way that our plans are integrated is also different. So I'll give some examples of that. So we have the EPA, which is the Environmental Protection Agency, which is like they look over a lot of the environmental laws and rules over here in the United States. So we have different kinds of plans. So the plans over here are things like embedding climate consideration into different programs and policies, not just in the EPA, but other parts of government, in order to make sure that new policies that are passed have some level of protection and are focusing on the climate, because that is super important. Community resilience, as I said, is assisting vulnerable communities in building resilience. Since they're the ones that are primarily affected, it's really important to work on that. Using data to enhance understanding of climate impacts and adaptation strategies, as well as infrastructure. And then collaborating globally to share knowledge and resources is also really important, because a lot of the things, even though local strategies are really important, on a global scale, it's really important to be on the same page with a lot of other countries in order to share knowledge, because a lot of stuff, whether it's in India or the rural areas in the United States, people face the same risks. It's really the same globally. Like, climate change does not discriminate in that way. Another thing, so this here was more still kind of local. I think this was mainly for Massachusetts. But we also have ones that are on a more national scale. So stuff like tax relief for lower income households to alleviate financial burdens. And this is specifically in relation to climate change. So areas that'll be more affected by it, by increased heat or flooding or stuff like that. So also spending reductions, budget cuts depending for certain areas that maybe don't need it as much, as well as tax cuts for areas such as clean energy and renewables. Advocating for reforms for monetary policy to stable prices and control inflation. While these don't necessarily seem like they're related to climate change, the economy really is going to be impacted by climate change, whether we admit it or not. So a lot of these things will help people be able to deal with it better. Energy policy, enhancing energy independence and efficiency. And then job creation, focusing on policies that stimulate job growth, specifically within the green economy and that sort of sector. I know there's been a lot of plans to sort of move people from the coal industry and get them trained for the clean energy as programs, because it's like the coal industry eventually is going to have to transition to clean energy. Realistically, if we want to be able to have that impact, both on the world, but also on people's lives, because if coal suddenly ends, which obviously that would be great, those people will be out of a job. So working on transition, so the people that were working in other industries that are going to be sort of phased out into the new clean energy economy, stuff like that is also really important to have as policies. And then here are some adaptation, different options that happen. So these are both adaptation and mitigations. They're both essential. Things like avoiding forest loss and stuff like that. Using both of these, not only resilience but mitigation are both really important. So working on different strategies to reduce carbon emissions, as well as enhancing ways to keep carbon within the soil. So that could be like planting more trees, stuff like that. Well, it's also important to defend against different changes with physical infrastructure and get working on that. So it's really a two-pronged thing when it really comes to adapting to the way that the environment is changing because of climate change, as well as mitigating some of the problems that are going to be coming from it. And it's really hard to do both of those, but it is something that needs to be done. And then there's, depending on the area, whether it's more national or more localized, there's different strategies. So some of the different things that I've noticed between the United States versus Andhra Pradesh, for some of my research, especially since Andhra Pradesh has more rural and more agriculture based, for a lot of what's going on, is education for farming practices is a strategy and a response that is more effective over there. While over here, working on strengthening infrastructure is something that we do through more policies like national or state policies. We have a lot more enforcement of safety standards when it comes to developing technology or even infrastructure with like a sort of green eye viewpoint for that. While over in Andhra Pradesh, traditional ecological knowledge is something that's a lot more important because people are farming. So understanding how farming impacts the soil and how to sort of treat the land properly so that you can get the most out of it is really good. And then tax relief strategy is something we're working on. And then similarly over actually in Andhra Pradesh, the government programs like the NREGA is something that is also important. It's a very similar thing. Though that one's smaller, there's definitely ones on the bigger scale. So both of these, there's both different types of responses depending on the locality as well as the more national or state level. And both responses sort of do need to be put together in order to be the most effective. Yeah, a couple more slides here. So it's also really important I've been talking about a lot, but environmental justice is something that is also really important to understand. There's a lot of takeaways when it comes to environmental justice, like being able to effectively sort of do risk management, and you really need to address the social political issues and be aware of that. There's a lot of inequity and impact. So there's a lot of groups that are actually a lot more vulnerable to climate change. Women and children, especially women, are almost 2 or 3 times as vulnerable compared to men when it comes to climate disasters, which is where gender comes in. And age as well. There's higher deaths when it comes to climate impacts between women and older people, just because of the nature of a lot of different societal development. And then sustainable development is working on, you have to work on the risk and figure out who's being exploited and how do we fix that and how do we repair that environment. And then community level impact. We have to look at some of the disasters. They impact very significantly at different communities depending on where they're at. And we have to understand different adaptation strategies for each of those areas. There's no right or wrong way, but it's something that we do need to look at. And then some statistics on the right side here are some of the just sort of, it's like we can see that women are 2 to 3 times more likely to be impacted by stuff like tsunamis. And then in heat waves, there's elderly are more affected. So it's important to like work on those resilience strategies to support those that are going to be most affected. And I know I haven't been talking a lot about the green economy, but I'm about to come back to that. There's going to be a shift. So how does this? Oh, my slides. So how does this sort of impact policy in the green economy? So the UN is a great framework. It's one that we talk about a lot. It's not the best because there's really depends very locally on different support. But it's really good to look at different policy development and how we can sort of implement that within our own economy and policies in order to push for that. Integration of skills and knowledge is also incredibly important to rebuild the economy. The climate change is only going to continue hurting the economy. So being able to train people, develop different initiatives and address the knowledge gaps is going to be really important in supporting the economy, especially when it comes to new emerging technologies such as either AI in analyzing data or wind technology or any of these sort of things. So it is really important to understand and get these sort of tools and frameworks implemented a lot in our policy and sort of be able to express that to the policymakers so that these sort of things can be implemented. Even in the economics, like we have to support the development and promotion of financial sectors that support the sort of move towards the green economy, that are working in that direction. And the more we sort of show support for that, the easier it should be theoretically to move and switch over and have a society where it's a lot more accepting of a lot of these different types of transformations when it comes towards moving towards a more green sector. And then climate tech also plays a really big role in this. So some of the ways that climate tech can actually be really important is mitigation of climate change. So decarbonization. There's a lot of different emerging technologies that I've personally seen that are working on decarbonization. Even the company that I'm currently working at, they're working on making the grid system more efficient. If we want to be able to support a clean energy transition, we need a grid that can support more energy without having to necessarily use coal, gas, and build more infrastructure. And then also even technologies, I've seen people decarbonizing concrete, which takes a lot of energy to do and make. So working on technologies that can do those sort of things. Resilient infrastructure. There's a lot of infrastructure that's coming out, whether it's using AI to design infrastructure that is more resilient to climate change, or even just working on implementing solar panels in buildings, as simple as that may or may not seem. Stuff like that is ways we can work with emerging technology to adapt our own buildings and cities to be more resilient and support their economy in that way, because all these sort of things promote job growth and they promote the better use of our land and the better use of our buildings. Economic opportunities, green jobs and sustainable growth. We really have to be conscious of like what is sustainable growth. I think there's this sort of unending increase in profits that we think about, but that's realistically not something that's going to be feasible in forever. So working on what is sustainable growth, how can we focus on green jobs, how can we move different sectors that will be in fact impacted by climate change to areas that can sort of fight against climate change, which is climate tech and green tech, a lot of those. Health and environment, air quality and biodiversity conservation. There's a lot of technology that looks at like farming technologies. How do you make those more efficient using technology? Like how do we use technology to understand the air quality and use that to decide whether like what the safety is and stuff like that. And then the energy transition. There's a ton of companies that are working either on renewables or working with other like grid companies in order to make the grid more, to expand the grid, make it add renewable energy and just make it more efficient overall. So a lot of these are really important things to focus on when it comes to climate tech. So overall, looking at both Andhra Pradesh, some of the way they have resilience strategies and some of the ways they're using that compared to the US, or at least the parts that I'm from. Both of them recognize the importance of climate resilience, they both approach with different strategies based on local context and resources, which is honestly some of the most important things you can do. It's really hard to take a very broad thing and apply it to places that have a lot of different varied needs. And they both understand the importance of integrating climate risk into planning and policy, making for sustainable development, which is a great thing to see. It's really important to see governments actually understanding and caring about that, because it means that there is hope for people to move into those fields and for people to be supported, especially those that will be primarily affected. And then overall, there's emerging climate tech, which is going to be essential for reducing emissions and enhancing resilience in the long term, especially in bigger cities. And as a lot of the smaller, more localities get addressed, they'll probably be moving over, and climate tech is going to be impacting some of the ways that they may or may not live, whether it's on a more national or local area. So these are some of the really important takeaways and why we really need to focus on not only how people are being affected, but also how can we support them and how do we fight for policies and technologies that really do that. So that's what I have. If you have any questions, definitely shoot them. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I'm gonna stop sharing now.
Thank you, Mr. Parker, for your wonderful session. You gave very good lecture and informative, very useful message. It's really very useful for our faculty and other participants. Thank you so much. You covered everything, each and everything point regarding emerging technologies and green economy. Being an American, you covered AP economy and Indian economy and all things. Thank you so much. Now I request Dr. Shalini to introduce next session speaker, Ms. Tejaswini. Please, Shalini.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, one and all. It's my pleasure to introduce Ms. K. Tejaswini, product developer based in Boston, USA, will be joining us as a distinguished speaker for our international webinar on emerging technologies and the green economy. Ms. K. Tejaswini, MS in product development at the Northeastern University, USA. She worked as a software developer engineer at Sony Software Center. She worked as a program manager at Mesa School of Business. She was a member development specialist. She is the co-founder and chief product officer at Baseline Technology USA. With her extensive knowledge and experience in the field, Ms. K. Tejaswini will provide valuable insights on how technology can drive sustainable solutions for a green economy. My warm welcome to you, Ms. K. Tejaswini, as we explore the intersection of innovation and environmental sustainability in today's rapidly evolving landscape. Thank you.
Thank you, Shalini, for your nice introduction about the speaker. Welcome, Ms. Tejaswini. You can continue.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Shalini. I'm really excited to speak for today's session. Just let me know if my screen is visible.
Visible. It's not visible, you can say. Yeah, now visible. You can continue.
Yeah. I'm audible and screen is visible, right?
Yeah. It's audible and it's screen also visible. You can continue.
Great. Perfect. Good evening, everyone. I'm Tejaswini. So I'm currently residing in Boston. I'm a product developer and also a co-founder at Baseline Tech. So previously I worked at Mesa and Sony. And today I'm here to discuss how AI and emerging tech are driving the green economy. So that's our topic for today. And sustainability is very crucial for our future. It's not just about protecting the environment, but also it's about creating that balanced world where the economic growth doesn't come at the cost of our planet. So everyone should understand the importance of sustainability because it affects all aspects of our life, from the air we breathe to the food we eat. So as someone who's seen the impact of innovative tech, I believe it's essential for us to embrace all these advancements to build a sustainable and prosperous future for all. So let's see how AI is making this vision a reality. So first, let's start with green economy. So what is green economy? So it's basically the economic system designed to reduce the environmental risks and to promote sustainable and development. So it's overall, it's about creating the economic growth while also taking care of our planet. So, in green economy, one key area is the renewable energy adoption. So, AI optimizes the integration of sources like solar energy, wind, and into our power grids, which makes them more reliable and also efficient. So, this means it's consistent green energy for everyone. So, for example, like in Spain, an utility company which uses AI to manage their wind farms, which basically predicts the wind patterns, get maximum energy output. And coming to agriculture, so precision farming nowadays is a game changer, and AI-driven tech allows farmers nowadays to monitor the crops virtually through AI and soil health and also irrigation with incredible accuracy. For example, if you take John Deere's AI-powered tractors, which are like uh, in are pioneering right now, so they can analyze the soil conditions and the plant seeds at very optimal depth and spacing, which eventually leads to more sustainable and efficient farming practices, which also reduces the waste and boosting yields. So, and the third one is the transportation, which is a major sector for seeing huge benefits nowadays. So, AI also powers like autonomous vehicles and also smart traffic management systems. So, which is helping to reduce the emissions and which also promotes cleaner transportation options. So, companies like Waymo, they are developing self-driving cars, if you have already heard about it, which navigates traffic efficiently and basically it reduces idle time and emissions. And also waste management nowadays is transforming with AI. It's very important. Also sorts the waste and recycles the process. And for example, like AMP robotics is using AI to sort the recyclables from the waste streams, which is very accurate than and faster than humans, which is actually significantly improving the recycling rate. Um, and so AI basically helps improves climate models and environmental monitoring. It helps us predict better for and prepare for disasters as well. So it's basically green economy is all about balancing growth with environmental care, and AI is a key enabler for this balance. So let's look further. So let's talk about enhancing energy efficiency. So Google's DeepMind AI, it's right now it reduces the energy consumption into data centers by about 40%. So data centers right now consume like high amount of energy because they're highly complex, and especially for once all these systems get heated up, there have to be cooling systems which consume a lot of energy. So what Google has done is so it has tackled this issue by implementing DeepMind AI in their data centers. So basically, this AI tech analyzes the vast amounts of data that's generated by these data centers. So it predicts and manages the cooling needs in real time. So this results have actually been very surprising because it has reduced the energy consumption by about 40%, and that's a lot. And it just not only cuts down, but also it also cuts down the operational costs, and which also reduces the carbon footprints. So that's how Google is tackling problem right now. And so yeah, right now in by reducing energy, Google sets like a powerful example in by using cutting edge technology to contribute to green economy. Uh, so going forward to AI and predictive maintenance for renewable energy, this is actually another exciting application in renewable energy sector. So it's basically about predicting maintenance. So when to exactly and efficiently we can predict the maintenance of wind turbines and solar panels, it's very important. And this is where AI comes in. So by predicting, by using AI-powered predictive maintenance, so these actually, the real-time data collected by the sensors, so these are embedded in the systems and they keep monitoring. And then so which detects the pattern and any anomalies that might signal potential failures. So based on the huge amount of data and patterns and also outliers, it can predict exactly when the issue gonna be occurring to the machine. So we can schedule maintenance proactively and avoid any unexpected breakdowns and costly repairs. So it also it just doesn't prevent failures, but also optimizes the performance for any wind turbines or panels. So also cost cutting and sustainability. So yeah, predictive maintenance, it saves us a lot of money as well by addressing issues pretty early and accurately. Uh, so which in turn support sustainability of energy production because the efficiency and uptime is maximized. So combining all these three things, AI is transforming green economy as well. So, and let's talk about AI in precision agriculture. So focusing on John Deere's new innovation here. So as you can see, these are the AI-driven John Deere's tractors, which are currently revolutionizing in farming. So basically, they use advanced machine learning algorithms that analyze what are the soil conditions and what is the plant health in real time. So by getting all these data, farmers can actually precisely make a decision about when to plant, when to water, and when to add fertilizers and how much to fertilizers to add, and which in turn improves the efficiency and also the yield of the crops. So this image shows John Deere state-of-art tractor, and also these are very robust, efficient, and also they are very highly precise. And this screen of the tractor is where the actual magic happens. So these data from the sensors are collected on the tractor and in the field, which gives the farmers detailed insights, as in how much soil moisture levels, how much nutrient content the plant health is there in the soil. And based on that, real-time adjustments, what kind of adjustments you can do so that you can do the seed spacing and fertilizer application, it'll give real-time insights to the farmer. So it's very important because farmers can now farm very efficiently, reducing the water and also fertilizer, and the yield, crop yield is maximized. So it also increases the productivity, but also it is a highly sustainable farming practice, which is essential for to meet the food demands of green economy. And yeah, moving forward, let's talk about AI and sustainable transportation. So let's focus on Waymo's autonomous vehicles, which are trending right now. And this is actually a very fascinating area. So they have basically our Waymo autonomous vehicles. They have enhanced fuel efficiency because they ensure smooth driving patterns by optimizing acceleration and braking, and also they use the fuel very efficiently. And this actually helps. This actually makes a very fewer trips to the gas station, so you don't have to frequently go to the gas station, and also reduces the carbon footprint. And also it optimizes the route planning. So the algorithms, machine learning and AI algorithms that have in the autonomous Waymo vehicles, They calculate the most efficient routes that there is based on all the data, and they take into real-time traffic data that's currently running, and they minimize the travel time and also reduce the fuel consumption. They so just imagine avoiding any traffic jams or any unnecessary detours, which we keep bumping into with Google Maps and anything in general right now. And so that's what these AI systems are designed to do. And so one of the standing out feature for these AI is to it manages traffic flow as well. Uh, so it reduces the traffic congestion and also makes the commute very smoother and also very predictable. And of course, lower emissions by reducing driving behavior, by optimizing driving behavior and also lowering vehicle emissions. So basically, think about it. Less time spending sitting idly in traffic means fewer emissions. So this is actually a crucial step towards a cleaner and healthier air in our cities. That's about it. And also, this is a crucial part of our green economy, waste management and recycling. This is way more important than we give credit for because, and also AI is revolutionizing how we do waste management and recycling, especially using the AI-powered robots and systems to sort recyclable from waste. So these robots can actually distinguish between, as you can see in the picture, they can sort various type of, for example, AMP robot. It uses and separates plastics, metals, and paper, and it actually dramatically improves the recycling rates. And it's highly accurate. And these algorithms accurately predict waste generation patterns to optimize collection routes as well. So these AI actually analyzes data that it has collected over the time, and it predicts exactly when and where waste will be generated. So this means the garbage collection trucks that keeps coming, they can be deployed more efficiently, reducing the number of times, number of trips that they need, and also reducing the fuel use, which is more sustainable. So it's all about the smart planning, picking up waste only when it's needed, and avoiding any unnecessary routes. And also, it improves recycling techniques. Uh, so it can give any insights about waste management practices and also helping cities and companies make more informed decisions. That's about it. And let's move to AI in environmental monitoring and conservation. This is a very impactful area where technology is actually making a real difference. First, talking about wildlife tracking and protection. So, AI-powered cameras and sensors they are set up in wildlife habitats just to monitor the population and track any movements of the wildlife animals, just to see what kind of activities are happening in real time, and also if there is any endangered, if there is any, for example, harm or danger for any species, we can go and protect right away. So, for example, recently in Africa, so they tried to detect elephant population and also detect poachers, which actually helped save a lot of wild animals. And moving forward with climate change monitoring. So even using AI, we can monitor the climate change as well by using satellite images. So a large amount of environmental data is being tracking by the satellite imagery. So basically, it can monitor how the glaciers are melting and what is the sea level rise and what is the global warming rate and how it is shifting in vegetation. And so basically, AI provides these important insights by predicting extreme weather events like there is a hurricane, there's a drought, and it actually helps communities prepare better and respond effectively when it's so that they'll be prepared even when there's a climate change and major disaster. And also pollution detection and management. So the amount of pollutants nowadays in the air, water, and soil, they can identify and monitor these three sources of pollutions by exactly pinpointing which areas we have to be concerned about, and also when to timely intervene in these to mitigate the pollution. For example, if there are any blooms in the water bodies, it can detect immediately, and also it can prompt quick action to protect any aquatic life or human health. And and then coming to forest and land management. So it actually also monitors deforestation and land use, how it changes over time by remotely placing sensor tech. And so it also analyzes satellite data and it'll detect any illegal activity that's happening around land usage. And also if there is any deforestation happening, all these things are also monitored. So also IoT plays a lot of major role in green economy, and for example, IoT applications in environmental monitoring. So there are IoT sensors monitoring air quality, water pollution, and also biodiversity. So what these sensors do, they collect the real-time data and allow any informed decision making and also timely interventions. For example, like any cities using a lot of data, IoT data to track pollution levels, they take immediate action to improve air quality. Uh, Cities like Delhi need them, and also they it also helps to reduce any emissions and all that. So if we do a little take a closer look about the SWOT analysis of the emerging technologies in the green economy, starting with the strengths. Uh, so it has like immense potential environmental benefits, especially because it gives significantly reduces any environmental impact, and it drives the world towards sustainability. And the weakness would be high initial cost. It's everyone wants sustainable options, but no one is ready to pay the amounts because it comes at a cost. So, uh, for example, everyone likes to talk about sustainability like this, but when it actually comes to put that extra effort and cost to separate the waste or to do that take that extra step, which actually costs more than the traditional methods right now, no one would be willing to do that. So that is a weakness because it's high initial cost and it needs a lot of technological maturity and a lot of challenges are involved. So it needs a continuous development to reach the full potential in the green sector. And the opportunities are there is a lot of growing market demand for green tech because the whole world is getting aware of this and everyone is being very supportive by implementing policies. So there are major opportunities as market is expanding and the new government is implementing favorable policies to sustainability. Everyone wants to adopt and develop these technologies. So people are investing, governments are investing. So there's hope. And coming to threats, so it actually poses significant threats because it can slow down the adoption of new tech. Uh, so if you don't have to think about sustainability, the tech can actually be adopted and changed very quickly. But this kind of slows down the process because of the economic uncertainties and investment that are required. But still, it's worth a threat. So, but it's important to understand these factors as we navigate the challenges and move forward. So, starting, so let's see how the future trends and predictions are for emerging tech and green economy. So, starting with today, 2024, right now we see crazy advancements in AI and IoT, for instance, like smart grids and IoT sensors and monitoring environment conditions in real time. There's a very especially countries like Germany are leading way in like solar installations, and even here, like I yesterday I saw a house which is fully set up with the Tesla solar panels. So basically, they can not they're disconnected to the electric grid around them. They only from using the solar energy, they can not only get electricity for their house, but they actually get paid to give electricity out for other houses as well. So it's nice to see how people are adopting to this. And in the next near future, from for next 3 to 5 years, we can expect to use of AI in energy management, and like smart cities are developing. Example, Singapore is implementing smart city initiatives, which is using AI to manage traffic and energy use efficiently. So also precision agriculture and all these things are also growing with help of AI. And by around 2027 to 2030, we can expect a significant reduction in greenhouse gases emissions from any transportation, hoping everyone switches to electric and autonomous vehicles. And being guessing we'll see all Teslas and Waymos on the roads entirely, and maybe everyone's more conscious about reducing the waste and recycling, and everyone separates their waste and all that. So things are going forward, and maybe in mid 2030s, smart grids will become very mostly universal by like fully 100% renewable energy grids. So that's the hope. And in maybe 2040s, you see advanced AI systems instead of the real-time environmental monitoring. So, for example, Google's Earth Engine is using environmental monitoring right now. And so maybe sustainable urbanization will be the norm, and eco-friendly infrastructure everywhere. And yeah, so hoping to have a greener future for tomorrow. And that's my time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Tejaswini, for your wonderful session. You covered each and everything. Really, emerging technologies have the power to transform economies and societies nowadays, creating a new opportunities for growth and innovations and development. It is really essential. Thank you for your nice session with nice slides. Thank you. Now, I request Dr. Prakash Narayan Reddy to propose vote of thanks.
Respected speakers, participants, and students, good evening, one and all. I am fortunate to be delivering the vote of thanks on this special occasion. This particular topic, emerging technologies and green economy, is a relevant topic in today's society, and the Department of Economics has rightly taken a very apt topic for today's generation. So initially, the first speaker, K. Parvati ma'am, has spoken on many disruptive technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain and cryptocurrency, IoT, virtual and augmented reality, quantum computing, 3D printing, and finally renewable energy and sustainability. Ma'am, you covered most of the disruptive technologies that happened last decade, and you gave introduction very thoroughly. Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful presentation. The second speaker, Mr. Park Sutton, he delivered a lecture on climate change challenges and resilience strategies. So you covered a wonderful insights about the climate change that has already happened and that is happening right now. And you covered data not only from United States but also Andhra Pradesh from various sources. And you have given various strategies how to control the climatic change using most of the green technologies. And we also gave a new terminology which we listened first time, emerging climate tech. So we learned a great deal of things from your lecture, sir. Thank you very much. And at the end, last speaker is K. Tejashwini. She delivered a beautiful lecture on how AI is affecting in several areas like predictive maintenance for renewable energy, how AI is playing a role in precision agriculture, sustainable transportation, AI in waste management and recycling, AI in environmental monitoring and conservation. These some of the things which you covered, ma'am, are totally new to us. And it has been a very, what do you say, informative as well as educative presentation you have delivered. And we thank all the resource person speakers for their sharing wonderful knowledge with us. And to tell you, even although there are many challenges in India, government has put out various policies to bring about the climatic change. Like actually, PM has announced 10 million homes. Like government will give subsidies for installing solar rooftops. A 40% subsidy they are giving. Government will reimburse. Like 10 million houses they want to make solar powered in the next 5 years. And apart from that, for the next decade, government want to completely remove all the internal combustion engine vehicles and replace with EVs or hybrid vehicles. So there is a positive change happening in India too. And people are more interested in motion sensor lights, motion sensor fans, all what do you say, internet connected appliances. So definitely there is a interest in this particular aspect. And we thank all the speakers for sharing very interesting as well as new emerging technologies to students and faculty. And we need to educate not only students, even our older generation, uneducated people also, on following correct norms to keep the climate as well as climate intact. So this is a very apt topic. We thank the organizers for selecting such a wonderful topic and selecting the right speakers for this particular topic. Thank you all the three speakers, Parvati ma'am, Paul Sutton and Tejashwini. And of course, we thank all the organizers, our principals sir, and also administrators. And we thank all the participants for your patience. And with this, I close my vote of thanks. Thank you for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Prakash Narayan Reddy, sir. Thank you so much for your for proposing vote of thanks very nicely. Once again, thank you one and all for participating in this webinar and make a grand success. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Parvati. I request all the participants, please fill the feedback form and to get a certificate. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vijaya. Appreciate the opportunity.